Hey everybody, welcome back to Carried Away Travels. If you don't know me, I'm Carrie and I share helpful travel tips, itineraries, gear recommendations, reviews, and more so that you can always have the perfect trip. Now, if you're a bibliophile like me, there's a really good chance that the Trinity College Library is on your bucket list. And that's absolutely no surprise because it is literally known as one of the most beautiful libraries in the entire world. So, of course, why wouldn't you want to visit? Now, personally, this library was on my list for about 15 years, and I finally got to visit it this past October. I was so excited, but there was one little caveat. When we went to book, there was a notice that said that the library was under construction. Now, my first thought was, excuse me? Like, what could you possibly have to add to the Trinity College Library, one of the most beautiful libraries in the entire world, that it needed to be updated, as the website said, for modern age? And I was terrified that they were going to completely wipe out this stunning architecture and just make these irreparable changes that was just going to ruin the whole thing. So we went, we had our experience, and then I've been keeping an eye on the developments here because I really needed to know what was going to happen to this library. And so today, now that all the renovations are done, I want to share with you our experience because some of that does still overlap, as well as the changes that the library has made. So if this library is still on your bucket list, you know exactly what to expect before you go, and you can decide if it's still a good fit for you. All right, so like I said, we got to visit the Trinity College Library in October of 2023. Now, just a quick side note, if you are going to go through the effort to visit this library, set aside some time to visit the rest of the college as well. It is so pretty. Like the rest of Ireland, it is very green. There's a lot of very vibrant green spaces and trees, but also just this gorgeous architecture everywhere. Like, it's a beautiful campus. I am jealous of everyone who got to go to college there because it is just stunning. So if you're going to go visit the library, walk around a little bit as well and just really enjoy the whole experience there. But focusing on the library experience, the first part of your tour is going to be the exact same as it was for us. The changes that they've made are more towards the end, and I'll be sure to establish where that changes. So we arrived around 10 a.m. on a weekday morning, and we had gotten tickets in advance, which is still required, just something to keep in mind. I believe they cost about 18 euros a piece, but that was before they added the rest of this. So we showed up at our allotted time, and our tour began in the old library. Now, they've transformed the old library into more of a museum for the Book of Kells. And if you don't know what the Book of Kells is, it's this ancient biblical manuscript that has these gorgeous illustrations, like in full color. It's absolutely insane that they're still intact. I believe it's a 6th century manuscript, still super colorful. So they have this museum, and it has lots of displays with the different pages blown up really big so you can see all the intricate details, and it's got some history about the Book of Kells. It's really fun to go through. And once you finish in there, there is a very small, dark room where you can file in and see the actual Book of Kells under glass. You're not allowed to take any pictures because it is very photosensitive, but it is absolutely beautiful to see it in person, and it's just crazy to think that a book this beautiful has survived for so long. It's also huge. It's not like a normal book. It's a very big Bible, but that's just such a fun and educational experience. Once you're done in the room with the actual Book of Kells, you'll go up some stairs and you'll find the long room, which is the main room of the Trinity College Library that everyone just raves about because of its beauty. The long room is the main attraction. Now, when we visited, I was so sad that most of the books were off the shelves for the renovations. There were a few on the shelves, and I was glad to see those because I could kind of pretend what it would have looked like just filled with books. But the architecture was so gorgeous. Despite the fact that there were few books on the shelves, the architecture, the tall wooden bookshelves and the ladders that you have to climb to reach the books on the tops and these statues, everything was still so incredibly beautiful. And the pictures were always great to see, but it was a whole different experience to see it in person. So there was actually a decent bit to see in this room beyond just the architecture. All down the middle of the long room, they had these glass display cases with these beautiful books inside. Some of them were very old and maybe owned by a prominent person or a prominent writer. Maybe it was a first edition. But my favorites were the ones with painted edges. I love a good painted edge book. I have a few in my collection. And so it was so cool to see these really old books that would have been reserved for like rich people with these gorgeous illustrations on the edges. It was just really neat. A lot of them were really small and like pocket size, which was also cool because it's just something you don't see a lot of today. They also have this harp called the Brian Boru harp, and it's the oldest harp in Ireland, and it was actually adopted as like their national symbol. I'm pretty sure this is what inspired like the Guinness harp, but they have that on display in this library as well. Now, here's where things get a little different for your visit versus what I saw. One of the biggest changes that they're making, and the reason they had to take all of these books out of the long room, is because they were adding something called Gaia, which, to be fair, looks incredibly cool. Gaia has NASA imagery of what the Earth would look like from outer space, but I can only imagine it looks absolutely awesome floating there in midair, and you can see it from all around. This is a very cool addition, especially if you like art and space. And so this is currently in the long room. The biggest change to your Trinity College Library tour is the addition of the pavilion. This is a third section that they've recently added on that has several elements in it with a lot of interactive things and light displays to really immerse you into the artwork of both the Book of Kells and a reimagined long room. So the first thing you'll see is the secret life of the collections, and this is a room where you can see different like portraits of famous authors and kind of interact with them, learn more about their life and their writings. And if you, again, are very interested in books and specifically the people who wrote them, this would be a very cool experience, especially with the addition of all the interactive elements. The next thing is a Book of Kells 360. So this is like an immersive art experience, but you'll be surrounded by the artwork from the Book of Kells. Now, it was really cool to see those large images down in the museum personally, but this sounds absolutely fantastic. I love immersive art experiences, and especially if you really enjoyed the Book of Kells Museum, this is going to be awesome just to see all these moving pictures, this artwork brought to life and just all around you. This is going to be absolutely awesome. So I am really jealous of all of you that get to go see this because it looks fantastic. And last but not least is the long room reimagined. Now, this is what I was afraid they were going to do to the real long room. Thankfully, this is an addition, and so the long room is almost the same as it was, but they've reimagined it with like a futuristic twist. And so this looks absolutely gorgeous. Again, you've got some beautiful digital artwork projected everywhere, so you're really immersed in this kind of spacey, futuristic area. It's a really cool reimagination of this traditionally beautiful space. And so that's just a great way to wrap up your tour. When all of that is done, you'll pop right out at the gift shop like you would with the original tour. And this is a great spot to get some fun souvenirs. I got a really cool shirt with some like Book of Kells inspired decorations on it. I didn't even know what the Book of Kells was before I got there, but I am now a fan. So they have some really cool different trinkets, and they're pretty reasonably priced as well. So let's talk logistics. Previously, a tour to the Trinity College Library in the Book of Kells was about $18.50. The new pricing is only 21.50 euros, which really isn't bad. An extra 3 euros for that whole extra artwork area. I think that's a pretty good deal. They say it's going to take about 90 minutes, which sounds accurate. If it's really busy, you may want to carve out some extra time. Again, you do need to have a pre-made reservation. You can't just walk up and do this. So make sure you plan accordingly. It can take a little bit to get into Trinity College. We found out the hard way. Not all of the gates are always open. So I would definitely recommend you get to Trinity College like 15-20 minutes before your time, because there's a chance you're going to have to walk around to find the right gate and then walk across campus to get to the library. So just some things to consider as you plan. Hey guys, that's all for me for today. Thank you so much for joining me to watch this video. I hope that it was helpful and that it gives you a good idea of what to expect for your first time at the Trinity College Library. With these changes, I'm actually very interested in going back to see them in person, see the reimagined long room and these cool art installations, and thankfully the long room with very few changes to its original beauty. So if you have any questions or comments, please drop those below. I'd love to hear from you and I will get back to you as soon as possible. If you want to read a little bit more about this, I have a written blog post at cochranewriting.com on the Carried Away Travels blog. You can check that out as well. And before you go, please do me a favor and like this video. And if you really enjoyed it, be sure to subscribe to the channel before you leave. I really appreciate your support. Thank you so much for being here and happy travels.